Good afternoon. Welcome to At the Inn with Sebastian, Mike, and Matt. We are sitting in our new, happier time slot here
Oops.
at Saturday noon. I'm really enjoying this time slot. It's a little easier for all of us to manage.
For the
This week
moment.
we're at the end of the Low Man's lyrics. So what we're going to do here is we're going to break down, load and reload the seminal '90s Metallica albums, controversial, if you will. Um, Definitely a lot of chatter when these came out. There was varying opinions on these. I think personally these have aged rather well, um, given the initial chatter from it. But first, we're going to have just a little bit of geekdom news. Some big things happening in my favorite geekdom, the world of professional wrestling. It has been an absolutely mind blowing week. So it breaks down like this. Last July, Vince McMahon was basically caught with his hand in, let's call it a cookie jar or two. And
About time.
yeah, right? Yeah. And it was discovered that he had made several hush money payments to various female staff members, one of which was an attorney for the company, and several unnamed. But if you do some math, you can kind of narrow down the list of some of his female talent on screen. They were called the divas at the time. Now they're just called the ladies, the women's wrestlers.
In a nutshell.
Given context clues, there are a few candidates where you can tell that this person is probably one of the ones that was told, if you don't do this for me, you are going to be buried on TV and you're not going to be dealt with. So the improprieties came out. Vince kind of left with his head down and his tail between his legs. And the WWE product came under control of his daughter Stephanie and Nick Khan, who is an executive. I think he came out of Coke. He came somewhere out of completely different area, but they were running the corporate side of the company. His son-in-law, Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, Stephanie McMahon's husband, continued in a major creative role, came back. There was some restructuring. Shawn Michaels became an executive as well as the Road Dog Jesse James, Brian James, so DX in the three major corporate positions. They've just recently rehired William Regal from AEW, and the four of them are kind of working on taking the company into a new era. The product was much better. They were rehiring talent that probably shouldn't have been let go in the first place. The storylines were better. The wrestling was better. The company was on an upswing until early this year. Just less than 2 weeks ago, Vince McMahon announced that with his controlling shares, he was coming back to the company. So he removed three board members. He put himself and two former executives in back on the board with the intention of selling the company, which then led to, on Tuesday afternoon, it was announced that Stephanie McMahon Levesque was resigning her position, which she had was previously on the leave of absence. And my immediate thought there is something bad's about to happen. Um, it was then announced a couple hours later that there was an interested party in buying the WWE, and it's a Saudi Arabia public investment fund, which, as you can imagine, wrestling fans, there's a reason we have a stereotype of not being the smartest and most kind people out there. Um, there's lots. The memes started almost immediately with WWE being associated with the Saudis, and you can imagine that nothing good was coming out of these memes. Lots of, I think my personal favorite was a Hulk Hogan meme where it was he was a real Arabian, fight for the rights of only men. Um, I'll see if I can
That's
find
pretty
that one
good.
for another
Yeah.
time. But yeah, lots of it's coming up, associating it with all the negative things coming out of the Middle East. However, a lot of fans decided that, well, if this happens, if this sale goes through, we're boycotting WWE. Here's the thing about the Saudi PIF. A quick list of companies in North America that if you're going to boycott, WWE because they're owned by the Saudis. Here's a list of the other companies you are going to be boycotting as well:
Uh-oh.
Uber, Capcom, Nexon, EA, Take Two Interactive, Activision Blizzard, Nintendo, Live Nation, Boeing, Citigroup, Facebook, Disney, Bank of America, BP Oil, the Newcastle United Football Club, and LIV Golf. This is not some sort of minor company or holding company or fund that is after the WWE. This is a
Are
big, big deal. This
are
is a
they
legitimate.
controlling interest in all those companies, or is it like just
They
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 have
have
percentages?
varying degrees. They have controlling interest in Newcastle United and
Mhm.
LIV Golf.
Okay. Yes.
Lots of it. There's almost 715 million dollars in Boeing, over $500 million in Citigroup, Facebook, Disney, Bank of America, almost $1 billion into BP. Like these guys, they're not
No
messing
joke.
around,
No.
um, and they're looking to buy WWE outright. Now,
Wow.
this settled. This was revealed to be an agreement in principle, which means nothing has been signed. They're still working on it, but Vince does have a history with putting on shows in Saudi Arabia. They're called bot shows, which means the Saudis say we want these people. Doesn't always work out. They have asked repeatedly for talent that is deceased, and were upset when they couldn't make the show. Um,
Unacceptable.
but they have a pretty big deal. So this is, and the Saudis got the money. Like
Yeah.
there is no doubting in that. Um, Recently, in the last 48 hours or so, a second bidder has been revealed. Interest, at the very least, of purchasing WWE. And here is karma at its finest. The bidder is Shad and Tony Khan,
Ooh, owner of the Jaguars.
owner of the
Hmm.
Jacksonville
Yeah.
Jaguars,
Yeah.
owners of Flex and Gate Auto Parts, owners of Fulham Football Club.
Yeah. That's right. It's
And
Fulham.
here's where the kicker comes in: owners of All Elite Wrestling.
Ooh.
So they're trying to do the power play that
To the UFC.
WWE did over the WCW.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are interested in picking that up. Fandom wise, super smart for them. That means they get control of the network. AEW,
Yeah.
Tony and Shad being the money, the father, Tony being the head, the face of the company. Also own Ring of Honor Wrestling, and for many years, Ring of Honor was considered the third biggest promotion in North America. It's where a lot of the top stars of the 2000s have come out of, including Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, and Samoa Joe. It's it is an
Wow.
absolutely phenomenal list of talent. They were on the original Chris Jericho cruise. They were second only to Impact and of course WWE. And right now, the ball is up in the air. We don't know what else is going to. We don't know what's going on. There's rumors that Disney is interested. There has been rumors of Warner being interested. Nothing of that has come to light since Vince came back with the intention of selling off the company. But right now, it's those two big players. This is something I never thought I'd see. Uh, but it could very well just be a thing of sour grapes for Vince. Is like, well, if I can't have my toys, I'm going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be the family business, which also then begs the question: if they sell, what happens to those executives? William Regal, having just left AEW, is probably the most catastrophic loss for AEW, although he did it for the right reasons. WWE has his son under contract, so he wanted to go and spend family time. Tony Khan understood that because it came to light as he was dealing with some health complications with his mother. So he understood, he let him go. But William Regal's mind is probably the most catastrophic loss to a
Yeah.
wrestling company since Pat Patterson passed away and ultimately is no longer around for the WWE. Um, this developing story is going to be really interesting to see how it turns out, especially if that upper echelon of executives is out, because then you have some of the greatest minds and talent uh, of the game, no pun intended, out there in the free agent and executive market. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, William Regal would all be fantastic additions to any wrestling company. Whether they pick up their own, start their own, move to another one, stay with WWE, it's a huge turning point. this is right in there with the Vince suddenly snapping up WCW. So I'm fascinated to see how this turns out.
Mhm.
Hopefully, no news drops in the first week of February, because
Ah,
the collective gasp when we return to port will be kind of phenomenal.
It's
yeah.
So
going to
that
happen while you're on the cruise for sure.
yeah, it will. There'll be 3,000 of us, and like 3 people with the internet package that works. Somebody will find out, and it'll just blow everybody's minds. Or we'll all be standing on the curb, waiting to go to the airport, and it'll be a buzz. Um, I was really excited for the WWE's current path. Now I'm not so sure. It's
Yeah.
uh,
Right. It's
it's Vince being
cloudy.
back in and of itself is likely to undo a lot of things, and just any
Hmm.
company. I mean, I was an employee of Famous Players when they were bought by Cineplex, and that was utter chaos as two major companies merged.
Hmm. Sure.
And it's fairly common. Like two big companies merge. Um, it's chaos, it's disorder. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and a lot of people are going to be out of work.
It's interesting that there's so much attention in the Saudi group right now because I mean they just hosted the World Cup.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you know the staggering numbers, but they've spent 16 times more money on this World Cup than the previous one in Russia. So they're confirmed is what they have released in saying how much they spent on the infrastructure of the World Cup was over $200 billion.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Number one, number two, Ronaldo just signed in Saudi Arabia with the club for 200 million euros a season.
Hmm.
So Saudi Arabia and like that entire area is making some power moves to bring entertainment and interest into that area, probably to
Hmm.
boost tourism, obviously, right?
Yep.
But I feel like they don't really care about the product so much as the interest globally in that product.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I will tell you this though, if they do buy it, you might be in good hands. I have a couple of people that frequent my bar all the time, which are pretty big Newcastle fans. And so when the Saudi group bought Newcastle, I think it was like 2 years ago,
Yep.
they basically just put money into the club and they hired the right people
Hmm.
and they got new management that's been kind of leading the way buying the right amount of players, but they've just kind of like left them to it. They said, "You run the business because we don't know soccer," and they are now sitting in fourth with like only two or 3 points out of second place in the Premier League,
Oh, awesome.
after almost being relegated 2 years ago to the first league. So you know, I assume it's a very nervous time for wrestling fans.
Yeah.
It is. And I didn't. I've just been sort of, we all still have our full time jobs and everything else going on in our lives. So I've done some research on
Yeah.
it. Clearly, I am hoping they just leave it alone. However, there is also the concern that part of the reason it looks or might go to the Saudis is that they'll leave Vince in a position of power, which bothers me because they weren't WWE was going downhill again under him. I think he does have. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, he has something to offer, absolutely. Um, if he leaves those four executives on the wrestling chart side in charge, then they have nowhere to go but up. Um, but it is really going to depend on how this all shakes out. It's that Vince is one of these guys, like Bill Gates, like Elon Musk, like any major head of a corporation with a public face. How well is the company going to do without him? Um,
Well, I mean, they've proved that they've been doing just fine without him, if not
yep,
improving the
If not
quality of the
better.
product,
Yeah.
right? So,
absolutely.
but what's going to happen to Triple H? Like, he's the creative lead right now, is he not?
I forget his exact title, but he is basically the top guy on the actual wrestling side.
Yeah, so he's
So it's
making
the
the
head of
decisions.
talent and creative. He's got a big
Yeah.
long title. He really does. Um, and so Road Dogg is in charge of the non-televised and live event side. Sean, I believe, is somewhere in talent relations, and William Regal is scouting. So he's looking for that um, next sort of
Batch.
generation of guys
Yeah.
to come in.
So,
It.
Triple H ultimately decides how the matches play out then.
Yep.
Like he's the last line of like saying yes or no, titles
Absolutely.
changing
He's
hands,
it's
basically.
Vince's old job,
Yeah.
basically, without the
So
corporate side.
so it's basically that is the all or nothing job, I would say. Like, I
Yep.
mean, because your fan reaction to what happens in your storylines is everything in wrestling. If the fans don't resonate with the storylines and they get bored, being apathetic in wrestling is the worst possible position to be.
Oh,
You have to either love or hate what's going on. Because if
yep.
you hate what's going on, you're really rooting for it to shift and change, and you can really play with the emotions of the audience that way. So, yeah,
Yeah.
interesting times ahead for wrestling fans.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
it is there is absolutely no doubt about it. It's a fascinating time. It's a major upheaval. The wrestling business in itself, where it is not as popular, um, I guess mainstream is probably the word I'm going to need to use here, as the 80s or the Attitude Era in the late 90s. The independent and smaller company and international scene, like Japan, like Mexico, um, like Pro Wrestling Gorilla, Ring of Honor, is all there. They're all thriving. These smaller companies are doing really, really well. Ring of Honor still has a long way to go to come back, because they did almost take a year off, um,
Oh wow.
following the collapse of their, I guess, executive infrastructure. I do have a source that I could ask more about this, but I'm not going to check in on that just yet. But they are, under Tony Khan, they are making a small comeback, and doing really well with it. They've had a couple of barn burner pay-per-views. Their talent is showing up on AEW. Their talent is out there. The wrestling business on the whole is probably doing just as well as it ever has. It's just not focused strictly on one or two major companies. It is split up over two major companies, three and four and five, if you want to talk New Japan and AAA and CMML down in Mexico. So
Lucha.
this is Lucha Libre.
Okay, let
Yeah,
me
so
ask
that's
you.
the
Let
okay.
me ask you a wrestling question that's not related to WWE.
Okay.
Just because I saw this on a TikTok, somebody was talking about it. The Will Osprey and Kenny Omega match. Have you seen
Hmm.
it
I have
recently?
not seen it yet.
Apparently, it's one
Um,
of the best matches ever in the history of wrestling.
Yep. Un- 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 Uncle
5 out of 5
Creepy
stars
himself, Dave Meltzer rated it like 6 3/4.
out of
Dave is
5.
very, very, yeah. He broke his
Yeah,
own rating system, and he's broken it for Kenny Omega, especially in Japan.
yeah.
Dave is a huge, huge fan of Kenny Omega. He's also, from somebody that read his stuff early on in my wrestling fandom and realized that 98% of the shit he publishes as news is turns out to be completely wrong. Um,
Metzer
Meltzer, yeah,
or
he
Meltzer?
is. Yeah, he has his opinions and his star ratings. If
Is
it's
he
Kenny
like the
Omega match,
Is
go
he
ahead.
like the Don Cherry of wrestling reporting?
Oh. Ooh.
Like I
No.
don't mean in the controversial way, but like I mean
Wow.
in like the old school
He is
way.
a huge name. He's a
Yeah,
huge, huge name. He's made a lot of money doing it. He is quite famous. He's also, over the last 5 or 6 years, been repeatedly called out on podcasts and in interviews, as he gets fed bad information from people and publishes it as a fact,
oh, that's
which his
unfortunate.
Perfect.
credibility fucking sucks. If there's a news item out for wrestling and it has the word Meltzer in there, I automatically assume it's fucking wrong. And then he has an incredible bias to his favorites, and
Yeah,
if he doesn't like you, he's going to shit on you, and he's
constantly.
going to skew everything. If he does like you, much like Kenny Omega, he is going to give you as many stars as possible, break his own rating system. Now, that being said, Kenny Omega is not an untalented wrestler. Kenny Omega is very, very good. Um, I haven't fully got on board with him yet. Will Ospreay is fucking rad, and he's a good
Yeah,
dude. I got to, again, spend some time at the pool with him on a certain place in the middle of the ocean. Spent the day hanging out in the pool and drinking with him and a bunch of other people. He was a really fun guy. He was incredibly personable, and he can hold his liquor. So I haven't seen the match yet. I've heard it's an absolute barn burner. Uh, so I'm looking forward to seeing it. However, I'm watching for the outcome because my opinion on a great match is not going to be Dave's opinion. Unfortunately, Dave just gets paid and has a lot of viewers. So maybe one
Yeah.
day I'll get paid for it and have a lot of viewers, but that's not today. Anyways, we're chewing time here. Let's get into the meat of this. Let's
Let me
get
just
into.
say
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
thing, and it's going to be real quick, and it's
Go.
related to the Saudi Arabia stuff, and it's a bit of sports news here. So Messi's off the World Cup. He has 1 year left in PSG, so his contract is up for renewal. Ronaldo just got signed in the Saudi Arabia League for 200 million euros a season.
Mhm.
There is a big rumor that the rival club of Al Nassr, which is the club that signed Ronaldo, is now pursuing Messi to come, and they apparently have offered him a 350 million euro a year contract to come to the Saudi league.
Wow.
Ooh.
It has been debunked as of today, but usually where there's smoke, there's fire, so there has to be
Yeah.
some element of truth to that. So there may not be like an official offer put over, but you can believe that there's probably conversations happening between Messi's agent, which I believe is his father, and the Saudi club. So that would be something quite interesting if Ronaldo signs a contract thinking he would be the highest paid soccer player in the
Oh,
world, and then
Yeah.
Messi signs a bigger one the year after.
Well, he's also got to
Well,
understand Messi is
yeah.
a way better player than him anyway.
That's a debatable question
all
for
of-
15 years. I
all
agree
around-
with you. I
All
agree
around
with you.
player, right? Like,
I
sure,
agree with you.
maybe
Yeah.
Ronaldo's a better goal scorer, pure goal scorer,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have, in my opinion, what Messi has in terms of all around skill, his willingness to go back and help the D, be all over the field, sort of be the commander of the whole pitch. And Ronaldo is just some guy that just sort of, for me, just he's up near the center.
He's too much about himself, really. I think.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I'll say is it's the first week of the NFL playoffs, it's wild card weekend, and my match of the week I think people should watch is the Monday nighter, the Cowboys versus the Bucks. I think. Yeah, we got the only Bengals fan in all of British Columbia on this
come on now.
podcast, right?
And I didn't jump
sorry,
on the wagon.
Did you say
I've
North
been
America?
A fan. Hey, I've been a fan since I was 10, so I didn't jump on the wagon last year. I enjoyed
Boomer
the ride.
days.
Yeah, who day, man. Sorry, I can go on a tangent about my team, but I won't.
We'll do that next week after they lose to the Ravens, and then we'll have to.
Maybe I should do it now.
Just kidding. No, there's no shot they lose that match. I don't think. But anyways, go ahead, Mike.
There is a path that they could, but I think talent-wise, I don't think they will because on both sides of the ball, they are way too good. Even on special teams, they have three of the best receivers in the NFL. They have the most confident, cocky quarterback possibly in NFL history in Joe Burrow.
He was my fantasy quarterback for a couple seasons. He got me a lot of points.
Oh yeah, man, that dude, he finds a way to win, and I think that's something you just can't put that in anybody. He's just got this will. He doesn't care if his leg is sort of broken. He'll stay out there if he has to and do what it takes. And he played good. He didn't play well last week, and they still won.
They managed it, yeah. There's just a lot of storylines going into the Monday nighter, I think. So with the Cowboys and the Bucks, I don't think the Cowboys have ever they've never beat Brady, I don't think. So
and they are, I think, what was the stat? They are like 1-10 or something on natural grass. They stink on grass.
Yeah,
and Tampa is a grass field.
The funny thing is that because the Buccaneers have a losing record.
Yes.
For the season, and however, the Cowboys have like a 12-5 record, but they finished in second, so they're the actual wild card.
They are the wild card,
and the Bucks are 8-9, but they have home field advantage because they won their division.
It's so stupid. I think if you're a division winner and you're 8-9 or 7-10 and
you're playing a 12-5 wild card,
you should honestly go on the road. You don't deserve, because that division is terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. And there's if they're in any other division, they don't make the playoffs. Yeah, they don't make
unless
the playoffs.
It was the AFC South where Jacksonville.
That's also true. Yeah,
but that division is also terrible. So whatever.
So that's my sports news for the week. But I guess we should probably get into this. Yeah, go Giants. I guess. I don't know.
Go Giants.
Yeah.
I've never said that before in my life. Go Giants.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Well, I mean, the football's in full swing.
Absolutely.
Best of luck to all of them.
Seahawks are going to get killed. I don't see any path.
That might be a surprisingly close game, actually.
I hope they win. I hate the Seahawks, but I hope they win. I really do. because the Niners are scary good. They're just
all the Niners fans that are listening to this podcast are now rioting.
Yeah, it can
You know,
happen.
It can.
it all comes back around eventually, right? Like the Niners used to be a feared team back in the day. Joe Montana.
Well, there's no
when football
Garoppolo on
was
that
good,
team,
damn
right?
it.
So
No,
I think he's
but
still injured, but
they're back. Their third quarterback's really good.
yeah. So he broke a record. Do you know what that record is?
I don't know. I know he was the last pick in the draft, and he's actually doing stuff.
He was the first time that Tom Brady ever lost to like a rookie quarterback,
Oh, nice.
like a first, like
that's a
it's his
record to
first
hang your
game
hat up,
ever,
man.
and he
Yeah.
beat Tom Brady in a game.
That's
Like,
awesome.
what a record to hold.
Man, absolutely.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Some Metallica talk.
Yeah, let's get into the end of the low man's lyric. Mike,
So just
your idea. So
yeah,
let's,
I just want
outline
to
it
say
for us.
this real quick, just so that people
say
know.
whatever you like.
Okay, Mike, this is your idea, right? As Matt is right.
Sure,
Do you want to give the
whatever.
criteria of how this was all
Okay,
done?
so what we're going to talk about Load and Reload, two maligned Metallica records, maybe. So we're going to combine the 27 songs into one record of 11 songs and try and make our own personal best of Load. We can call it whatever we want. You can make a new album title. I wish I had artwork, but I don't. I'm not that creative. But we're going to make a best of, and I think it's going to be a really fun exercise in our differing opinions on how we think differently about everything. I'm really excited to see what the two of you come up with playlists, because you can take these albums in a million directions and go with different vibes, or you can take it straight down the middle and go with 11 sort of more of the known songs, or you can whatever, right? So the sort of the outcomes are almost not endless, but there's many outcomes you can come out that with this. So some maybe a little backstory with Load and Reload. They came out in 1996 and 1997 respectively. They were recorded from May of 95 through February of 96. The 14 songs for Load were done in that time frame, with the bulk of Reload being done as well. And then they returned to the studio in July of 97 through October to re-record the guitars and some vocals and probably overdubs and all that other stuff for Reload. Because for me anyway, Reload is a much different sounding record. It's got a little more edge to it. The guitars are a little angrier. Load is more of I want to say blues, classic rock record, but the tones are a little softer. It's very different. I think
with Load, it's more of a safe album.
Yeah.
And they allowed themselves to let's kind of put out these songs because they're not kind of like similar songs that we do. They're different. They're kind of like exploratory songs. And then
the Black Album Part 2.
Yeah, right. And then the Reload really pushed the boundary on song creations, basically, after
absolutely.
that. So
now
I do have a quote. I want to just give some context to all of this, because I found an interview with James Hetfield, and the question was asked, what would Cliff Burton have made of some of the directions the band went in the 90s, beginning with the Black Album and ending up on Saint Anger? James's response was, well, I certainly have thought there would have been some resistance for sure. I think the Black Album was a great album, and I appreciate the fact we had the balls to do that and have producer Bob Rock work with us. It had to be, it really did. When I go back and listen to And Justice for All, it couldn't have stayed on that path. We needed to bring in another set of trusted ears, but I think Cliff would have probably interjected some different stuff, getting his bass heard and some more musically challenging things, probably. I think I would certainly think that the Load and Reload era I would have had an ally that was very against it all, the reinvention or the U2 version of Metallica. And he goes on to say, so this kind of goes to the greatest hits, like the 11 songs thing, because I think this is a perfect quote for this. The question was, when you say an ally, you mean that personally you were not comfortable with that mid-90s period? James says, no, not at all. There's some great songs on there, but my opinion of all that imagery and stuff like that was not necessary. And the amount of songs that was written was ... It diluted the potency of the poison of Metallica, and I think Cliff would have agreed with that. I think their inability to self-edit themselves, and I think James taking a backseat a little bit to sort of the creative force that Kirk and Lars were kind of at the head of it, especially with the imagery, all the guy liner, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And him taking a back seat. And I think he kind of, after Load came out, he kind of, I think he pulled back, took the reins back a little bit and said, okay, no, this is how we're doing it. And this is how we are, which I love Load. I know we're going to do probably a list of top Metallica albums at some point. Load's very high on my list, and so is Reload. And I really wish they'd put out some tunes that would sort of sound a little bit like Hardwired had some elements, pieces, songs that kind of sounded Reload-ish. But hey, whatever.
I think the new album might surprise you. I just have a feeling that they're gonna bridge Hardwired and Load more together. Like it's gonna be more of an amalgamation of those sounds.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I have a question for you here, actually, or not a question, but this is a statement that I actually believe in. Had Cliff Burton been alive, not died in 88, I think it was 86. My bad. 88 was just wrong. Yeah. I think Kirk wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of his bullshit over the last 10, 15 years. I think he would have pushed Kirk to become a better musician and a better guitarist.
Yeah.
You can tell in a lot of his solos in the last couple albums that they're just like bluesy solos that he's done 100 times over. Yeah. And me being a guitarist, lead guitarist, for a long time, I don't want to say constantly disappointed, but I'm going to say constantly disappointed with a lot of Kirk solos.
Because they're uncreative, right?
They're just slapped together because like insert solo here.
And he doesn't, I know he doesn't really prepare anymore because he's all about the moment. Like all the solos on Hardwired were all about the moment. Came in, ripped through him a few times, and I like that one.
But he's not a savant in that way to be able to pull something like that off, right? He's not like Stevie Ray Vaughan or, the elephant in the room, Jeff Beck.
Okay. Rest in peace, Jeff Beck.
Rest in peace, Jeff Beck.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the pioneers, man.
Dave Mustaine is 100% a better soloist than Kirk McLean. Kirk McLean.
Well, yes, absolutely. So much.
Hey, same era, man.
That's a Vancouver Canucks goalie for those of you that don't know. But
Kirk Hammett.
Kirk Hammett.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
I got a couple of thoughts here. We a year or two ago, we took this challenge and we did it slightly different. Yes. So we have our own Spotify playlists for that. Maybe we can post those for anybody listening later on. However, I also remember a quote, and it's in some kind of Monster. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if it was a bunch of them talking and who said it, but it was either Lars or James that they didn't want to rush the album and put out crap. And then somebody else there, I don't remember if it was Bob Rock or Kurt or one of the other of Lars or James went like Load and Reload.
I think it was Kurt.
I think the studio push for that to get the album out, they rushed some stuff. And I think you can tell on some songs, even though the initial Load, I was with you guys when Until It Sleep came out.
I was just going to ask how you guys felt back in the day.
I remember waiting with you two for the radio to finally play the new Metallica single. I think we were sitting in a McDonald's parking lot in North Delta, BC.
Oh, probably.
And I believe there's a few others with us. Shout out to the crew from back then. The backlash was everybody wanted Black Album Part 2.
Or something
wanted that sound.
Yeah.
However,
or thrash rock.
Five and a half years since they recorded that.
It was 5 years
and
since
you're
Black Album.
A different person.
Yep.
As you get older, your musical tastes change, especially if you're a singer-songwriter and not in AC/DC.
Or Megadeth, Slayer.
You lean towards something different. Things happen in your life. We've all gone through emotional stuff in your life. You go through a breakup, you get married, you get divorced, you have kids, you have a loss in your life, and then your music changes. If you look at the Kid Rock albums over time, it went from, hip hop, hardcore rock, rap rock stuff, and he's basically a country musician now.
Yep.
There's an evolution there. Yeah. That evolution by the Metallica fan base between Black and Load was not anticipated and
No.
not well received, and both those albums were absolutely shit all over it. But
Yeah.
as the fan base grew older, we have found saving graces in here. We
Yep.
have found things that hit different as we've gotten older. We're out of the mosh pit,
Yep.
right? We
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to be slamming off big sweaty dudes. We're not the same humans. We are older. We're more mellow. Um,
Well,
you call me a
even
big sweaty dude?
No, I said you need to be.
Yeah.
You're a wrestling fan. Of course, you're going to be banging around with big sweaty dudes.
Whoa, hold on. Happily married. Also, I have I have our main number one fan sitting in my living room doing some math. So, given the criteria that Mike has given us, rough guess, both of you.
I've seen the
How
comment
many?
already, so I'm not
You've
going
seen the
to.
commentary. So there are 20 million.
Okay, so
58,300 combinations to make 11 songs out of the total combined of these two albums.
yeah,
I feel that the three of us are going to have maybe one or two that the other one doesn't have on
yes.
there. Um,
I feel I have about
and
8 that are probably not on your guys' list.
I have 2, I think for
challenge
sure
accepted.
that won't be on your list. But
Yeah, my list is, I don't know, whatever. It's out there, but I love it.
Yeah,
And so I made mine into a playlist, and I've been listening to it, and I've actually tweaked it a few times over the last couple of days, and I'm still not entirely happy with it yet. But it's
just the
I've
a
order
work
or
in
the
progress.
songs?
The order, and there's one song that I think I need to pull and put something else in, but I don't know what the replacement would be at this time, because it would
Yeah.
change the whole dynamic of the record.
I
a
had
couple
about
years
5.
ago we did this
Yeah, me.
Spotify challenge where
We did.
instead of time, it was time for the album based
Yeah.
on how much a CD would hold rather
Yeah.
than songs. So
Yeah.
what I did is I listened to that a couple of times and then I had to pick 3 to drop.
Oh, nice.
And then I just put key songs where I thought they would be,
Yeah.
and kind of just threw the others in there. Not completely happy with it, and I'm probably gonna look at your list and go, "Oh yeah, that's much better."
Yeah.
So, before we get started, anything else, Seb? I kind of cut you off there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it just I was just reflecting on the whole load and reload thing. It's like when you release the most successful heavy metal album of all time in the Black Album, no matter what you're going to do next, you're going to be heavily scrutinized by a fan base, right? It is gone platinum so many times over. It's gone diamond. It's not, no, diamond's below
It
platinum.
was on the Hot 200 for like 25 years. It was like Dark Side of the Moon. It just would never go away.
It would never go away.
No.
There's an album full of singles too.
It is.
Like
there's like 6 solid singles on that song at least.
Oh, easily. And then the ones that aren't are earworms.
They're good.
Like, Wolf and Man did not make a single list, but you get that stuck in your head and you're screwed for like 3 days.
Absolutely. But I will say this, they stepped through to what every artist should do in their career, in their chosen walk of life. They explored their space, their creative space of music, right?
They never do the same thing twice.
They don't want to do the same thing twice. They want to explore boundaries, you know, they want to explore country, they want to explore blues, you know, rock songs, you know, they want to go into that space. So, and a lot of people gave him slack for it, but I think now people will look back on it and say that was actually the right move for them to do that.
Yeah. And so I think for me too, like with me being, 25 years on or whatever, however long it's been since Load came out, I'm looking more into lyrics now, and listening to the lyrics of these songs they are so deep and they are so well written.
Yep, I will talk specifically about one song about lyrics.
Like there's songs on like
I think I know what you're thinking,
like Cries for Help, that James being hopelessly addicted to booze and whatever else he was addicted to. So many songs cries for help, and even Mama Said, which I will say right now did not make my list. I love the song to death. The lyrics are haunting, but it didn't fit. It didn't fit with the 11 songs that I put together, but I do love that song. I always have.
Yeah, from like a poetic standpoint, minus the one scene Anger album, like if you look at lyrically what the actual lyrics in the songs are, they're so super powerful for whatever topic he's singing about. Like it's coming straight from his heart and from a very deep place. And I guess that's kind of why I personally resonate with Metallica so well. And that just goes for any artist. Any artist that really resonates with me is someone that is really reaching into a deep place in themselves to give you their music, whether it's in the rap world or the metal world or, you know, like the female vocalist world. If they're tapping into something really deep inside them, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to love it. So
I do have a Hetfield quote about Saint Anger if you want to hear it.
Go for it.
Okay. It says, the question was, so by the time you got to Saint Anger, is that a start for you, or is that the end of a period that you've just been describing? He says, well, I'm not sure. For me, Saint Anger kind of stands alone. It's more of a statement than an album. It's more of a soundtrack to the movie in a way. There's some really interesting and cool riffs, some great songs on there, but sonically it sounds fragmented, and which is exactly where we were at that point, which is true. They were a freaking mess from 2000 till 2003. And but in that fragmentation, it brought us together. So it was a very necessary piece of the puzzle to get us where we are today.
After the fact, it brought him together after he came back from rehab.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they were the most broken and least like a family they've ever been.
They were fucked. They were fucked for a long time. Like it was. Yeah. You look back and with the two alphas, you got James and Lars as being the alphas, and then Kirk is just like the, hey, whatever, man. I'm just gonna do whatever you guys tell me to do. I don't give a shit. And I think Jason kind of got lost because he's also an alpha and he's got very strong opinions. If you see any interviews of him over the last 20 years, he's an intense dude. And I think with the three of them button heads for 15 years, it just got to a point of just like, we're fucked. And Jason had to go, which was a shame. I love Jason Newsted. He's the greatest. But
no, he was great.
He wasn't allowed to do shit in that band.
I don't know if he was. I think he grew into an alpha. I think he came in excited.
He came in as a fan, and then they beat the
shit kicked out of him.
They beat the shit. They beat the fan out of him, and then he decided. I think by Load was like, okay, I need a voice. I need a voice. I need to get my creativity out, right?
And that comes clear in Some Kind of Monster. It's Metallica and it's U2. So this show is going to focus on some Metallica fairly frequently. So, I mean, Some Kind of Monster is probably a discussion point down the road. But you see, as Jason has left the band, you know, there's lots of discussion on what's going on here, how the guys sort of started to regret the way they treated him. And Lars has an existential crisis in the film. He goes to see, I can't remember the name, but Jason was playing with his band. I think they were playing the Whiskey. Echo Brain. That's right. And, you know, Metallica is shattered. James is in rehab. Kirk is out surfing. Lars goes to support Jason, and he has this little existential crisis. He's like, Metallica's breaking up. I don't know if I have a job anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. Am I going to make music? Am I going to play with these guys anymore? And Jason's out here playing shows. And you could see he is almost on the verge of tears as this is going on. And
but then he left the band, man.
Famous quote.
Finally replaced Jason.
Left the fucking band.
Jason.
Yeah.
And what did they do? Do you remember what they did when they replaced Jason? Swapped bases with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got the right guy to fill the shoes.
Robert Trujillo is absolutely the perfect guy.
You know what? We here we go. There he is.
Jason is the future. Metallica is the
past. Mr. Jeff Addison. Jason is the future. Metallica is the past. There you go. Thank you, Jeff, for tuning in. Stand by, buddy, because we're going to get into this. So let's
get into it.
We're 43 minutes deep
into
this.
Let's just get into
it. I know
I
chewed the scenery, but let's start off with our lead here, the main man, Mike. What's your list?
Okay.
Get ready to get slayed, Mike.
Mostly because I'm turning my notepad into
I've been super excited up until now because now I'm afraid that my list is going to get shit on. So a lot of these songs to me have like a real sort of grungy post-grunge sound to them. A lot of Soundgarden influence, a lot of Alice in Chains influence. And I kind of leaned into that with my list, taking songs that aren't exactly, you know, rocket speeds. They're going on vibe and sort of being as creative as they possibly can. My first song does not meet any of that criteria. So, the first song I chose was a song that was sort of, I think, a snapshot of where they are and how they were kind of like this. The middle finger's up to the world, and we're going to put out our first song, and mine is Attitude. It's quick, it's punchy, it's, you know, it's simple. It's got that little sort of that old school punk vibe, and I think it's a pretty cool album opener.
It's on my list.
Yeah, well, really, all right, okay.
It is not on my list, but we'll.
No, I figured that for sure, because I think, Seb, our lists are going to be 100% different.
They're going to be so different, probably. Yeah.
So, and now I get into the sort of the grungy aspect of a little bit grungy. Yeah, we're going.
Okay, so let's just resonate with Attitude for a second.
Sure.
So what is the criteria in your mind that it makes it a great opening song?
I think I like the pace of it. It's sort of it's not fuel fast, or it's about the same tempo as Ain't My Bitch, and it's kind of fun. It's just them. You can hear when they start the song. You hear James in the background go 1, 2, 3, and then they kick it in. It's got that sort of live in the studio feel, and it just, to me, just sort of it sets the table for some 10 more fun songs. But now I'm going out there now.
Okay,
so
let's go.
My second song was, I can remember, when I first heard the song, I was like, holy shit, they really like jumped off the boat and they're going out there. I put The House That Jack Built as song 2. Lyrically, it's awesome. It's awesome. If you put headphones on and listen to this song, there is so much going on. And that's one of the reasons why I love Load and Reload. You put a good set of headphones on and you listen really close. There's so many other guitars and voices and all this different, really, really cool stuff. But
I will say this, though, it is one of the most unique solos that Kirk has ever done. And did you know that this is the only time that he's ever used a talk box for a solo?
Is it confirmed that's actually Kirk doing it, though? It's never been confirmed.
Whatever the solo is, it might be James. Actually, you are right.
I think it might be a James solo.
Personally. It is the only time they've ever used a talk box in any of their songs.
And
which Jeff Beck,
which this live either, right? Like
no, it's never been played live. I could fact check that real fast. I got a couple on here that never.
Which is a crying shame, because it's actually a really good song.
Well, a lot of these songs are really good. They deserve to be played live, and I just think they're afraid. They're afraid. That's the wrong word. I think they're hesitant to play them because I think they're so demanding vocally. Like when they did Fixer for the 40th anniversary shows, Fixer was rough.
Vocals were rough.
The vocals were rough because Hetfield's not there anymore. It's 25 years on. He's old. So he can't get to those spots anymore. Yeah. Okay. So track 3, taken in the vein of The Thing That Should Not Be, something down-tuned, really, really like heavy as fuck. And it's one of my favorite songs ever by the band. It's Devil's Dance. Yeah, it's track 3 on Reload, and I had to leave it on track 3 just because it just for me it just pounds you over the head. It's just
that didn't make my list, but it's on my 6 songs that I had to fill 3 slots with.
Okay.
So I had 6 songs that needed to fit three track listings, because if it was like if we did 12 or 13 songs list, Devil's Dance would have been on that for me too. Yeah. It's fucking groovy, man.
Oh man,
like it's got such a good groove to that song,
and the bass is amazing. Like if you can like during the verse, just the bass and the rhythm with the drums is just
let's dance.
Oh, I love that song. It's so good.
Dancing.
Yeah. And they have played it live. I could give you how many times they played it live. They played it numerous times, not for a long time now, but okay, moving on is the classic ballad slot, so I'm going to sort of use this in a traditional Metallica setting. I got Bleeding Me. Bleeding Me
is your 4th?
Is number 4. Arguably for me, it's the greatest song they did in the 90s. It's got amazing guitar. It's got B3 organ. It's epic in every way. And they played it a few months ago back in the summer, and it was like, holy fuck, this song is just, it holds the test of time. It stands with Fade to Black, Sanitarium, One, Unforgiven, all that stuff.
100% agree with you.
Right?
100% agree with you. It is one of the best ballady songs that they've ever written.
And
100% agree.
Yeah, and it's the prototypical slow, and then it beefs up, and there's a ripping solo, and it's just, I don't know.
That part at the end, I am the beast that feeds the beast. That whole part
Oh.
is so
Yeah.
powerful. Like
Yeah.
it's just like if you just let yourself go and listen to the lyrics and listen to that moment, like it is like
And
the-
more addiction
yeah.
talk, right? It's
Yeah.
just he's completely lost.
Exactly what I was
Yeah.
talking about beforehand about resonating with artists that really take
Mhm.
something from a deep place and you
Mhm.
can feel the
Yeah.
lyrics. Like
And that's something he doesn't
yeah.
really do anymore, is getting that personal. Like these albums, I think, were
Yeah.
really personal for him, and now he's got this wall up, and
Yeah.
he's just sort of skirting the edges of like
No, I disagree with you
Moth into
on
Flame,
one. Okay, maybe two songs.
Halo on Fire.
The last part of Halo on Fire, where he says it was the darkness part, "Hello,
Yeah,
darkness, say
yeah,
goodbye." Like
yeah.
that is super personal to him for sure. And I think a
Okay.
lot of, but we're not talking about Hardwire.
No.
So.
Okay. So moving on. A song that I've already talked about that they played in 2019 or in 2021 for their 40th is Fixer. It's weird to have it in slot 5, but I think after Bleeding Me and that slow burning intro to get
How
it
many
going
X's
again.
this is in that?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, 3.
No, because Fixer is one of the ones I ended up having to drop. It was a tough choice, but I dropped it.
Oh my god. So what's there to say about Fixer? Fixer is just fucking awesome. And again, put a good set of headphones on, and just that minute long intro of those backwards guitars and stuff is just
Yeah.
shit they don't do anymore. And I just wish they would tap into that kind of creativity again, and just, instead of going down the highway straight, we're going, we're doing a hard right, and we're just doing shit that's different.
I think they really what am I trying to say here?
Yes, I am.
The last song on a lot of their albums past the first album is very exploratory in song structure.
Yes.
Like they're not typical like first chorus, intermission, verse chorus songs.
No.
Like they allow themselves to like explore a landscape of music that is like very almost like Toolish in a way, right?
Or play as fast as they fucking can.
On a couple albums, yeah, but like you look at like so
Well, you look at Cthulhu off of Ride the Lightning, it's just like, holy
it's
shit, this is
full
supposed to be
yeah.
album. Yeah, my
Yeah.
god. Okay, where are we here?
So
Okay,
Jeff's sorry.
go ahead.
Jeff's got a comment there. I'm gonna wait to see.
Yeah.
Now you can both see the comment. Is it worth waiting for until this song is mentioned? It's not on my list.
Mama said it didn't make mine either, but
not
it
on my
is
list
the
either.
most personal song he ever wrote too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So from Jeff,
Yeah.
coming out of left field, Jeff, maybe throw together your own 11. We'll read that off real quick towards the end of the show, buddy.
Lyrically, it's a heartbreaker, man.
Absolutely.
I
it's a tearjerker.
I would actually also say that The God That Failed is a very deeply personal song to James as well.
It's all about his mother passing, right? And the Christian Science and all that mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you one line out of Mama Said that really always resonates with me. And all the things you said to me, I need your arms to welcome me, but a cold stone's all I see. Like, it's just like,
it's powerful lyrics.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's powerful shit, man.
Yeah. And again, that's probably one of those ones that got shit on an original release that we've now grown into understanding. Let's keep hammering away. Mike, number 6.
All right, number 6 is a song that I put on the other day. I've always thought it's kind of fun, and in the middle section of the song is great. It's Cure with that with that drum intro and just the spoken word, and something about that song's always, it's just fun. It's fun to play on guitar. It's easy as hell on drums. Well, not that anything's easier for me on drums, but I can play it, and the song's just fun. Like, it's just
it is. It didn't make this list for me either, and it didn't make the original 14 we did a couple years ago. But
it didn't make mine either.
It was one of those. It was one of those ones that it was a tough cut.
Yeah.
But I've passed over that song a lot. Maybe I should give it like a good listen.
I think
just give it a good listen. It's fun.
The back half of Reload in particular has some hidden gems.
Oh, absolutely.
That's age better.
Yes.
With us than anything else, like Fixer, like Cure, and I think that's probably the biggest issue is, it's all retrospective. Having more distance from the seminal album.
Yeah, and I think these songs for me are aging better than the stuff in the 80s. Maybe because as I get older,
Yeah.
I'm not looking for speed. I'm not looking for, let's play as fast as we can and talking about apocalypses and shit. I don't care anymore.
Well, like except for like their giga hits like Fade to Black and
Yeah.
Sanitarium and One will always
For
be
Whom the Bell
timeless.
Tolls.
Yeah.
All
I
that
hear
stuff, right?
Unforgiven one more time, it'll be the fucking last
Yeah,
time.
it's like the same with Enter
Yeah.
Sandman. Fuck enough already.
Okay,
Okay.
what do you got for 7?
I have, speaking of the back half of Reload, I have Carpe Diem Baby, which it's a fun slog. It's kind of like a Soundgarden-y kind of, and of course he says "suck it," and I always picture the DX,
Suck it.
the DX thing in the middle. I swear that's probably where
So
he
we
got
know we know that made Matt's list then.
100%. Again, this one falls with the Cure and Fixer.
Yeah.
One of those ones that
What?
I dug, and absolutely that would come on, and me being the wrestling fan, just every time.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know what to just say. It's just fun. Even like sort of melody wise, it's different. The song title isn't great. Like it's kind of lame. It's weak, right?
But it works in the chorus.
Right? It works in the chorus.
It works.
It's pretty bluesy groovy too.
It's bluesy and groovy, right? It's just got that sort of that bluesy groove to it. So moving on, we're going surf style. Next track is Until It Sleeps. I had to put it on. Song's so good. I don't know. The first song we all heard off of Load. I still like it. Their lyrics again are amazing. The music video,
one of the rare bass intros as well too.
Yes, absolutely. A song that I believe they wrote during the recording process. It wasn't one of those ones that was a preconceived. It was, here's the demo, here's the song. It was written in the studio, which is great. Jason's playing a fretless bass, and Kirk is getting his surf on with all the, yeah.
I like it too. I think it's a phenomenal song.
It's phenomenal, and I found it hard to sort of put it. I didn't want to put it in track 4 because that was just too obvious. Because to me, it's not a ballady type song. It's not that traditional Metallica 4 slot song.
I also think it was a really good song to release as their first single because it's kind of like a bridge song between the Black album and what's to come in the Load album. Because it's like people could be like, well, this is different, but I like it, I think, like a lot of the fans. And so
that's going to be one of my 2 points on Until It Sleeps is it was such a departure. Like not
it was shocking. It was shocking when it came on the radio,
I think it was such a departure from what everybody wanted. And this is toxic fan base shit. You see it all the time with Game of Thrones and Marvel Universe shit. The fan base wants what they want. They don't like that you've done something creative and done something different, even though if you had given them what they want, they'd probably be like, I want something different.
Because they easily could have put out King Nothing as the first single, right?
Oh,
very
absolutely.
Easily.
It probably would have been closer. It probably wouldn't have left such a bad initial taste.
It's kind of like Enter Sandman Part 2, kind of.
It is exactly the same song structure as Enter Sandman. Even the pauses,
exactly.
And something that I can comment on this because I do it, and I know you guys don't. It is fun to sing at karaoke. I have done that. I've done Until It Sleeps.
Nice.
I've done that, and as a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, there's 4 songs on my list that I do at karaoke, or have done in the past. I don't go as often, and we'll cover that later. See if you guys can guess. Okay. What else you got?
Okay. Track 9 is the longest song of the 2 records. Is The Outlaw Torn. I had to put it on. Arguably the S&M version to some people is better. I like this one because it's so minimalistic. It's it's drums and bass for the majority of the song, and it's just the guitar is sprinkled in when it needs to, and there's so much room to breathe, and that's rare for a Metallica song that has room to breathe. Like
the vocals are pained in the right spots.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like he is in absolute agony when he's dragging out that O in Torn.
Yep.
It's such a departure from the usual Metallica style, as you said, because it's usually about riffs and the guitar sound.
Yeah.
And for the, I guess 75% of the song, the guitar really doesn't shine until the last in the outro of the song.
Yeah. And that's a James Hetfield solo at the end too.
Yeah. So it basically plays like an ambiance role to like add like texture and flavor to the
Yes.
song.
Yes.
So yeah,
Something
I
they
love
don't do
Concord, yeah.
something they don't do anymore again is adding
No.
textures and flavors and sort of just
Yeah.
making the song that much more rich. Okay,
Great
so
song.
yeah, track 10, the lone Jason Newsted writing credits, which I added this to my list the other day. I listened to it a bunch of times nonstop. It's Where the Wild Things Are. Fuck, that song is cool, man. There is so much shit going on. Different, like there's like layer upon layer of vocals, and the guitar and the bass is just this intertwined, really, really interesting dynamic. And actually vocally, the melody reminded me of Rain When I Die by Alice in Chains. It's kind of has that same kind of vibe, not quite as, not with the feel that Staley had, but fuck, that song's cool. Like it just, and this probably didn't make either of your lists. I'm sure it did, especially Seb's. I can imagine it would.
It was one of the ones I dropped off that 14.
Yeah, this was a late edition for me, so I just I tend to skip it sometimes. But yeah,
this
different.
Is where you and I different, because I appreciate the song for what it is, but it just doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
So, but that's musical taste in people.
Absolutely.
Right? People,
And my last song is the title track. The title track is track number 1 off of Reload. I had to put Fuel last because, again, the tradition, and it's put the barn burner at the end, and just it's not my favorite Metallica song by any stretch of the imagination. It's in my opinion, it's overplayed live. We don't need to hear it anymore. It's fun live, but I don't
there's pyro.
There's pyro and the crowd, honestly, and I'm probably in the minority in the crowd that doesn't want to hear it.
I will tell you this, though, it's one of the best songs they do play live, just because of the sheer amount of pyro. So
yeah,
actually, Moth into Flame is really good live too. They have like the flickering.
Do you think they're going to keep playing that live moving forward?
Yeah, because it's such a visually
it's such
a visually impactful song live. They have like a firefly flame that just goes back and forth on the stage. Like it has an amazing effect. So it's a good list. It's a good list.
11 songs.
Yeah.
1 hour and 11 minutes of amazingness.
So just recap your list really quickly.
Okay, so recapping the list. Number 1, I had Attitude. Number 2 was The House That Jack Built. 3 was Devil's Dance. 4, Bleeding Me. 5, Fixer. 6, Cure. 7, Carpe Diem Baby, which is the same track listing it is on Reload. 8 is Until It Sleeps. 9 is Outlaw Torn. 10 is Where the Wild Things Are. And 11 is Fuel. And I flip-flop a lot of the songs over the week too, and just trying to find a good flow, right? Like it's all about the flow for me with the song. So which one of you two wants to go next?
I'm going to let Seb go next, but I'm going to tell you, you only have 6 on there that I don't.
Okay.
So it wasn't quite the 8 you were expecting.
I have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I kick it off with one of the best opening tracks I believe that they've ever written. With my first song is Ain't My Bitch.
Okay.
I really like this as an opening song. It is no nonsense, in your face, and it just opens an album so well.
Well, and it's got that same fuck you attitude that Attitude has. It's like
it does, but I like it better than Attitude.
We don't give a fuck what you guys think. Yeah. This is our song, right?
That is such a kick-ass riff though. It's just it's a banger. So I think
I have a physical reaction to that song. If I'm driving, my right foot gets real heavy.
Yeah,
right. It does, right?
So heavy.
And the slide guitar solo and stuff like that. Yeah. It's just the elements of different. I think it's fucking cool.
It's a good one. And then so I went out with a double banger because the second song is Fuel. So we just went like that into that, and it kind of makes sense because they kind of like link this. So it's like come out with a kick-ass song. So we don't really need to talk about Fuel too much. So for me, number 3 was The House That Jack Built.
Hell yeah, man.
That is a very unique solo. It is a great song. Like musically, they explore a lot of different spaces in that. And again, number 4 for me, Bleeding Me. Easily, in my mind, the best song on both albums.
Yeah.
And for me, it's probably a top 10 song of all time that they've ever written. It could even be a top 5 song.
Yes.
It's
a crying shame they don't play it more.
It is. It's such a good song.
But we did see it live, though. Do you remember?
Yes. Yeah.
I did. I had to look it up and find the guy. I don't remember it. We saw it in '98 at Thunderbird when
We
when they
did.
did the acoustic tour. I have like no memory of that show hardly, except for the acoustic stuff. But they did play Bleeding Me.
I think they played it in the last concert, in the Hardwired concert. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, nice.
I really like that you guys put that track in the same spot.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Bleeding Me, it's just the perfect fit for that.
It's
that
track
song.
4, baby.
Yeah,
it's track 4.
Track 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so track 5, for me, it is a simple song.
Yes.
It's a simple banger, but for some reason, I fucking love this song.
Okay.
It's Wasting My Hate.
Okay.
It is just it's a simple guitar song, but like it's a good song. I just like it. I don't know why. I have no like outlining reason. I just whenever I listen to the song, I love listening to the song. So
Good Day, How Do?
Yeah, and then Good Day, How Do. And then might be a controversial one that none of you probably have is Bad Seed.
I love Bad Seed.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of Cutting Stunts when they come out and they open with the intro riff to Bad Seed. Fucking A, man. That's awesome.
The cough at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's an homage to Black Sabbath, I think. Pretty sure.
I believe
Absolutely.
So.
And as far
a song
as
that's tuned down to D.
Goes, I had Bad Seed in number 7. I changed it.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good song. It's a good song.
Yeah,
it is.
It's
great.
And with the circus, got the ringmaster guy in the middle, ladies and gentlemen, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's such a good song.
Yeah.
It goes right with Mike's 5, 6, 7. Like just one of those ones hidden at the end, and you're just like, Okay, go ahead, Seb. Number 7.
So number 7, Until It Sleeps. It is a great song. I don't, it was controversial when it came out. But I think it's musically like it's a phenomenal song. Number 8 was probably the last one I added. Number 8 and 9 are the 2 last ones I added. Memory Remains.
Nice. So good live.
It is really good live.
So Black Sabbath-y, and it's just it's arena rock to the fullest.
Yeah. What else is it gonna put on there? It was either that. Well, maybe I'll talk about that after. So Memory Remains for me was good. And number 9, you guys are probably sick and tired of the song, but this is arguably as good, if not better, than the original, is The Unforgiven 2.
It is better than the original.
Yeah.
It's, I think, and in every which way, lyrically and everything, right?
Yeah. I know The Unforgiven has been played to death. And so like, I didn't want to put this song on the list just because of how much these 2 songs have been overplayed, specifically the first one more than the second
first one. Absolutely.
But I kind of took a step back and actually just looked at the song and I went, you know what? If I heard the song for the first time, I would think this is like a top 10 song. Like it's amazing. It's actually an amazing song. But the problem is that it's so overplayed. The first one, the second one, not as much, that people just forget about it, right? They're sick of hearing it, basically.
I think the biggest problem with The Unforgiven 2 is the 2. If they had done that song under a different title, so that it doesn't sound like a sequel, it would have been better received.
But it is 100% a sequel, though.
But it was always
100% is.
It was always he was always planning to do a sequel to the first song. Like when he wrote the first song, he always had the intention of writing a part 2, I believe.
And it was written back. It was written completely opposite. So in the original song, you had the quiet and then the loud verses.
Yeah.
And no, was it that the way it was? Yeah. And then they flipped it.
They flipped.
They flipped that.
Parts and the metal
they
parts,
had the loud sort of intro and pre-chorus, and then the verses were quiet, which I think is
a great song, great to sing along with. I just think that having the 2 at the end of there. I remember looking at the album and went, "What the fuck?" Like,
Where do we rank The Unforgiven 3? Is that just like
third?
We have to. Yeah, exactly, right. But
third, it's good.
Have you ever listened to all 3 songs in a row, though?
No, I haven't.
You should try it because it's an
but
experience.
Lyrically, it's the 3. It's closure for James, right? It's him coming to grips with sort of his life and who he is and all that. So they're very important songs.
Yeah. So for number 10, I had The Outlaw Torn.
Hell yeah.
I know that the outro is done, I believe, by James.
Yes.
But like the wailing guitar in the middle is some of Kirk's best solo work.
Absolutely. And it's the simple stuff, but it's effective.
Yes, it's very I almost want to say it's very David Gilmour-y in terms of the sense where it's not like we're not playing a bunch of riffs back to back
Yeah,
that are all like tapping and
yeah.
like it's very like hold on a note and like really explore the space of that one note. Like it's
Less
like
is more.
less is more. Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly right. Like David Gilmour is less is more.
He's the greatest
Yeah,
guy at that. He can play 2 notes, and it's like the most amazing shit you've ever heard.
yeah. So
That's a
for
really interesting name to drop in there.
David Gilmour,
That one's gonna live in my head rent free for a while. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so, like, if you listen to "Comfortably Numb," which is arguably one of the
Yeah.
greatest guitar solos ever done, it's a
yeah,
very less is more solo, and I feel
absolutely.
like the wailing guitar parts in the middle of The Outlaw Torn really emulate that, whereas, like, he's just giving you a feeling instead of, like, flashy riffs, and
Hmm.
so it leads really well through, like, the whole song, so
Hmm.
just for that reason, I think it's some of Kirk's best solo work, and
Yeah.
it's not even, like, any of his flashy stuff,
And I think
and
that's why
yeah,
Hetfield's such a great soloist when he did like Nothing Else Matters solo. It's again, it's
because it
simple. It's just
means something,
it
right?
means
Yeah,
something, and it's a simple blues
yeah,
scale, but he does it so effectively. It's just Kirk could never ever play
yeah.
that solo the same way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So to close it off, because it fits thematically with what the Outlaw Torn is Fixer.
Yeah.
Like that I actually believe because the last two songs on each album that they actually emulate each other in
Yeah.
songs.
Oh, yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
like a torn outlaw basically
Yeah.
doesn't have a purpose and whatever,
Yeah.
and then basically comes to grips that there's no more fixing me. So like
Yeah.
those two songs in tandem, I think work very well together.
That's a
So
real. This is a really good list.
yeah,
This
so
is
that
really really cool.
that's my list. So
Fucking awesome, dude.
so
Fucking bravo.
I'll give you some outliers of songs that I actually didn't put on. One was Prince Charming.
Chris Charming's
Hmm.
amazing.
I
That whole
wanted to
middle section, so
yeah
kick ass.
yeah I was gonna say King Nothing, but actually the more I think about it, the more I knew that wasn't gonna make my list either.
No,
Just
I
because
had
it's
it
a
on for a
yeah
minute, and I'm like, this
yeah
song's got to fucking go.
yeah. So there we go. So just to reiterate my list: Ain't My Bitch #1, Fuel #2, The House That Jack Built #3, Bleeding Me is #4, Wasting My Hate is #5, Bad Seed is #6, Until It Sleeps is #7, #8 is Memory Remains, #9 is The Unforgiven 2, The Outlaw Torn is #10, and to close it off at the 11 slot is Fixer.
Yeah,
Well done.
great
So
list.
yeah,
Well
there you
done,
Now,
go.
bravo.
yeah, I
Thanks.
think Seb, I'm just sort of following along here. You have 5 songs that aren't on my list.
Okay, this is going to be
Okay,
interesting.
so
I,
now we've talked about a lot of stuff on my list. We've had a couple of things come up um, really recently that's on my list. But as I'm going through my stuff, one thing caught me in the back of the head that I mentioned earlier is how fun is this one to sing?
mhm.
So
Okay,
I've sung other songs off these albums, but when it came down to some of those hard choices, like between Carpe Diem Baby and Fixer, there's a couple of songs in here that I'm like, it's too fun for me to sing. I have
Mhm.
to be on my list. Now, Metallica is deceptive. James has that growl in his voice, which is really hard to work. The first song on my list is an absolute banger that I did do at karaoke last week. Unfortunately, I was a designated driver, so
Ooh.
I was a little more self conscious. I couldn't get the growl out of my voice when it needed to be because James
yeah.
will take the growl out when he needs to be. The growl
Mhm.
isn't there. It's a very deep misconception that it's just that Cookie Monster sound. No, it's
Yeah.
not. Starting off with a banger, starting off with pyro, starting off with fuel,
Mhm.
right?
I argued that that could have been my first song too, because
Me
I had
too.
Fuel and
Yeah.
Ain't My Bitch like swapping
Yeah.
spots for a
Hmm.
while.
And
Okay,
that's I've already mentioned I played it. I've sung it at karaoke. I've sung. That's probably that is probably my most frequent Metallica one because I mean it just gets the room jumping.
Mhm.
And when I was hosting, sometimes you have. I never shit on anybody's songs. Like that's what you want to sing. My only criteria is like, please don't sing the same fucking song somebody else just did.
Yeah.
Um,
has that ever
and
happened?
yes, it's happened. I've tried to space it out and I've talked people out
Huh.
of it. And there's a couple times I just said flat out fucking no. That
Like
person
we've
just
just
sang
heard
it two
Gangster's
Yeah.
songs. Go
Paradise. We
pick
don't need
another
it
one.
again.
I have a 250,000 tracks. Sarah, who was there, said I killed it regardless. I
Yeah,
was
man.
super nervous. I didn't. I was stone cold sober, so I was super nervous, and I don't do the karaoke as often. But the crowd
Nice.
apparently dug it. That was
Oh
cool.
yeah.
Um, Second song, Mike. back in the day when this came out, he referred to this and another song on my list as a subgenre of the Metallica menagerie is chug rock, devil's dance.
Hell yeah.
Devil's dance, baby.
That lip curling
Because it just
chug. That's what it's all
I
about.
knew it was going to be on both of your lists.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. That song is so awesome.
It is just a freight train.
One of the first songs written for those sessions because they played it at Tuck Tuck in '94. Famously that and 2x4.
If anybody knows Mike, we all know. If anyone knows Mike, they know that how much Mike likes chug rock.
Oh my god,
or chug metal.
Yeah, chug metal is the best.
For number 3, neither of you guys picked this one, and this one, I think this one more than any other song on these 2 albums, it hit me at a time in my life where I was not in a great place. I was really, really in a dark, unhappy place. And it is also a dead giveaway as to who's the producer behind the show. Low Man's Lyric.
Yeah, that's such an underrated song.
It is.
It's deep lyrically. You know, I think the hurdy-gurdy might scare people away. The length of the song might scare you away. But fuck, man, that song is so. If they would have left that, like, take the hurdy-gurdy out, because I know there's a demo out there of just Hetfield and Lars doing the song, and it's arguably better.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Than the final version.
I think it's so far out there that a lot of like that kind of made me not want to put it on a list because it's a very specifically different song.
Would you like it any different if it was called Mine Eyes? That was the original working title.
I don't know.
Tough to say.
I think Low Man's Lyric is a better title.
I think that's one of the things that drew me initially to the song. Also, I'm going to ask you guys a quick question after I read out the other.
I just want to ask you a specific question.
Have I sung this at karaoke? Will be you. I want you guys to guess from here out. There's 3 more that on this list that I have sung at karaoke. Go ahead, Seb. What's your question?
I was going to say is like, obviously you just mentioned that it resonated with you in a time that you were pretty dark. Is that must be like a big reason why like you emulate with that.
Absolutely.
I guess like
absolutely it hit.
Did it help the song? Or did it just?
It was cathartic. It was something that's there for me. It didn't change my spirit. It allowed me to sort of wallow a little bit when I needed to wallow. Actually, during that time, Seb, you and I hung out a couple of times. And I remember we went to a birthday party at a local shoe show, and we're hanging out. Peeler Bar.
Oh, gotcha.
The shoe show. So yeah, it really did. It hit me, and it's one of those ones that I can't give up. Number 4. Guess what I have as number 4?
Until It Sleeps.
Bleeding Me.
Bleeding Me.
Yeah.
All of us, same song, same position.
That's where it belongs, is at track 4.
Yeah, it really does. Have I sung this at karaoke, boys?
Yes, you have.
Nope.
No.
What?
I mean,
One
no.
of the ones.
Yeah, no.
That's not one of the ones. So we've talked about enough. Number 5, we're going from a couple of slower, more downtrodden ones, and we're gonna kick it straight in the ass. Ain't My Bitch.
There you go.
Yeah, we're gonna change gears. I mean, I said it when Seb brought it up as track 1. The foot gets heavy in the car.
Yeah.
I may have been the guy with the minivan and kids that went hammering down the highway on that. It's not. I'm not
okay, so
we're good.
If that was the first release as a single, do you think people would have gone into Load with a different expectation?
100%.
Or they'd be like, "Oh yeah, Metallica, here we go!" Right?
Yeah.
But I think they did it correctly by doing Until It Sleeps as the first single.
Well, I think it was a fuck you to the people too. It was just like, this is what we're doing. This is what we feel is. This is our passion right now, and it ain't any of those songs. It's Until It Sleeps, right?
Yeah.
We don't care what anybody thinks. That's the punk rock attitude.
And they had to set the table. Like, if you bring out "Ain't My Bitch" as the first song, people are going to go in expecting, 8 or 9 more tracks that sound like that, and that's not the album.
And I do believe that was song number 25 written in the sessions. The third to the last song written was that song.
Yeah. And you know what? It worked.
Mhm.
Have not sung that one at karaoke. Number 6. Here's one neither one of you guys had, but you did mention it.
Hero of the Day.
No,
Oh,
King Nothing.
there you go.
And this did make it because I
It's a
have sung
fun.
at
You
karaoke and
have,
it's
yeah.
fun as shit.
Oh, I can
So
imagine.
you sang that at karaoke. Yes, we got it.
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, you did it. I'm breaking I'm messing up my own game, which is nothing new. Now
I
going
like the
into
song. I think it's a
It's a
great
good
song.
song. It's just, yeah.
no,
But it's like
it's
it to be honest, I mean, I know Enter Sandman's been killed to death on the radio, but
mhm.
it's like a worse Enter Sandman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I mean that
musically,
came
but
out.
yeah.
I think it was the second single from that, and it was such a
You
change
might be right actually. Yeah.
from Until It Sleeps that
Cool music video, though. I'll give it that.
oh yeah
When they're in the snow with the fur coats and sunglasses and
yeah
shit, and,
Yeah.
and the guy running around with the crown, that was cool.
yeah absolutely great video, but it was a change up. It threw you a completely different thing, and I think that because it was such a change from Until It Sleeps, which didn't hit as hard, it got more requests, so it got more radio play, and
That's a
that's
very
that.
radio friendly song too. King
Hmm.
Nothing.
Oh yeah.
I think that's why it
Yeah.
was probably written too.
Yeah.
uh,
That makes
n-
sense. Yeah.
Number
Good song though.
7,
Yeah.
we've hit on this a bunch. Outlaw Torn. I
Yes.
think we've covered
What's more
this
to
one.
say about Outlaw Torn, man? That's
Yep. And then we're just gonna pass right along. Number 8, going back to Chug Rock 2x4.
fuck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think
2x4 is good, and it's. Oops, I put 2x5. 2x4.
2x5. This is why you're not a carpenter.
That's why I'm not a carpenter. That's such a. It's cool. It's got a great swing beat. It's and it just like
It
being
chugs
beaten
along.
over the head with
Yeah.
a 2x4, right? I think that's the whole
Yeah.
point of the song.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you know the well placed yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it's I don't think that song gets enough respect actually.
No.
Like a lot of
Okay.
people just kind of like eh.
Yeah.
So in my last 4, there's 2 I have and 2 I haven't. Have I done this at karaoke?
Okay. 2x4?
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Mike's right. I have. It's fun.
That's
It's
such a
fun.
Matt song to sing too. That's
I just flipped a coin.
Oh, I love putting that copyrighted James Hetfield yeah into stuff like that'll fucking do it. I think, yeah. I mean, other than Master of Puppets, which is probably the one I've sung the most at karaoke. Yeah, 2
That's
by
a long
4s.
one to do at karaoke too.
Oh, wait till you get to the laughter. That's a motherfucker. Okay, number 9. Pulling one off of Seb's list. Waste My Hate.
all right,
Let's
there you go.
go.
Absolutely.
It's a
Good
good
day.
song.
How do and I send a smile to you. Just yeah, that one just popped off the album when I
Yeah.
first heard it.
And we
Yeah.
saw that live in '97 when
Yes,
when
we
they
did.
the first time they came on the Load tour.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. 'Cause that was one of their long tours.
Like a
Well,
pretty
boys.
short song too, I think.
It is.
Yeah, it's only 4 minutes, which is really
Matt,
short.
I can't hear you, buddy.
Yeah. You muted yourself.
Did I mute? Is that better?
Oh,
There
there
you
you
go.
go. Yeah, we're
You're
good.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a thing upside. Have I or haven't I? Wasting my hate.
You have.
Yes.
You have. That's a definite have. What?
Mike, don't influence my decision.
No.
I'm sorry.
Number 10, one that I don't think Seb had this one, but Mike did, and that surprised me. Attitude. Mike
Attitude,
kicked off
baby.
the album with it, and
Yeah.
this is the last banger I have on
Yeah.
the list as I close the album out on a little more somber tone. Born into Attitude. Like
Mhm.
my mom might say I had that problem, but sweet Jesus, my oldest daughter does. Wow. I swear to God, I just want to follow her around when she enters a room and with a phone and just have her entrance music as she comes in. Like
All right. Love it.
it's that's what I'm dealing with.
Wow.
Have I or haven't I?
Yes.
No.
Mike's also correct. I have not.
No
Haven't
influence
done
there,
Attitude.
Seb. I waited for you to answer
No.
first.
Yep, no influence. So the last one is our last one that I have done at karaoke.
So I get a
I
point for that because
honestly-
I was going to say yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, you can math. You work in the bar industry. You do math all the time. I have sung this at karaoke. It is a little more somber, and honestly, I didn't think it would make either one of your lists, but it did.
Oh,
Memory Remains.
nice.
Nice, nice.
And that is so fun to sing because
I
you get
bet.
that pained, that pained remains when he just holds those vowels.
Hmm.
And, you know, you can go two ways with that. I have had another female singer at the bar do the Marianne Faithful part, and I have done it myself, and it's just a blast.
Yeah,
Um, and it's just one of those things. I think also, just as a song is a perfect end track for an album, it's like, okay, we're done now.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's
I could
over.
totally see
yeah.
that at the end of a record. I never even gave it a thought to put
That's
it
a
there.
good point. It could
Yeah,
be an awesome album
yeah,
closer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I did my list for order, there was two that I bookended right off the bat that I had no doubts about, and it was Fuel and
interesting,
Memory Remains. Like, okay,
interesting. Yeah,
now
that's
where do I
really
fit
really
everything
cool.
else? Now,
Yeah.
there's a few in there I could juggle, and it kind of bothered me. I mean, I had Two by Four and Low Man's Lyric and Bouncing All Around,
Hmm.
and I cut Bad Seed out for Outlaw Torn.
Yeah.
I
Um,
would too. If that was my choice.
Okay, so Sarah has
Uh
done a lot of karaoke with me over the years. We've sung a bunch of duets, and now she's pissed. So I guess I'm doing "Memory Remains" if we go out in the next couple of weeks, or maybe on the boat. But they have a really shitty karaoke list.
yeah.
Um, you know what? I'll tell you when I'm done here, because it won't make a difference to anybody listening. But yeah, it's a tough game to play
Hmm.
to cut these albums down.
Yes.
When we did it on the time frame,
Yeah.
I ended up in my list as 14 songs and then cutting it down again, which was tough. But to cut it to 11 songs, you think,
Tough.
oh, I'm gonna have all this time left over. I don't
Yeah.
have 11 songs, and then you look
No.
at it and you're like, no,
All of a sudden you've
this is
got
this
15 or
is
something. You're
hitting
like,
different.
shit, what do I do?
Yeah,
What's got to go? Did you guys have
yeah.
any like honorable mentions that were like songs that, like for me,
Um
like that didn't fit or?
And
um
yes, for the record, it is Sarah's fault
yeah.
that I ended up at karaoke. We'll tell that.
I said Prince Charming and King Nothing were two that were like thrown
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
But in terms of like honorable mention, here, okay, so we've talked about the song over the years, but
Mhm.
it's I'm not gonna say I don't like the song. I do
Uh-oh.
respect the song,
Uh-oh.
but I've never been like on board with it in
Okay.
terms of how other people view it is Hero of the Day.
I love that song.
Hmm.
I was just
Exactly, right?
that's because that was my number one honorable mention was Hero of the
Yeah.
Day.
I've never, maybe it's because it's in the major
It's
key.
one of the rare
So
Metallica songs, Major,
and
and
that's
it's
a
like super soft, and then
yeah,
it goes like double kick hard,
Yeah,
and you're like, what the hell is going on?
yeah. It's jarring
Okay.
to me. It's too jarring
Yeah,
because
it
it's
is.
like
I love for
yeah,
that reason. I love that song.
and
yeah,
the vocals in it. James
yeah,
James sings.
Yes,
Um, like in my head, and I haven't listened to it in quite a while.
he sings softly.
He doesn't have the growl in his voice for that song.
So,
It's he's singing, and that's one of the things with Metallica I found is musically they were top notch in the early days, but the vocals were fucking
yeah,
garbage.
he
And
learned how
that
to sing.
somewhere around Black, they kind
Yeah,
of evened out,
yeah.
yeah.
and then it tilted in favor of James actually being able to sing.
Hmm.
Um, he may have peaked. I'm not gonna.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. His at being the age he was what in like how old was he? 30, 33. So
Hmm.
32, 33 when you recorded these, like prime peak,
Yeah.
like your
And
vocals.
pretty much,
That's like you're
yeah.
a supreme athlete at that age in musically, vocally, and man, doesn't get much better.
And if
So
you've ever tried to sing like multiple times a week, let alone having to do a whole concert,
Hmm.
um, singing as a living, like I've had to sing multiple times a week, several nights a week, just hosting karaoke,
Yeah,
um, and that's not even on a level of a professional singer.
yeah,
There is a local professional singer who's a big fish in a small pond that used to come to the shows, and she wouldn't sing for us, and I would never make her. We had a deal on that, but she was always very adamant that it's one thing to keep in practice.
Yes.
It's another
Well,
thing
it's an
to push
instrument.
yourself too
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
It is an instrument. It's no different than any other muscle in your body. You have to keep working it out. But if you work it out too hard,
Yeah.
especially when you're adding that growl to your voice, it is hard on your throat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's lots of stories of especially hard rock singers, metal singers.
Vince Neil.
They don't do a lot of
Brian Johnson.
talking
Yeah.
No.
outside. Or you hear that they're having throat problems. They've had to cancel shows.
Or they just can't sing at
Brian
all anymore.
Johnson,
Yeah.
yeah. It would surprise me if I believe James mentioned something about it in some kind of monster or somewhere.
Yeah.
I've heard
Shit ain't easy,
might
man.
it might have actually been in that year and a half in the life of he talks, so I can't talk.
Yeah, because he
it's
started
tough.
taking vocal lessons between Injustice for All, the Black Album, basically.
I wouldn't ask you to
And
do a
it
drum roll
shows.
if your arm fell off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The famous quote from a year and a half
That's
in the
so
life.
good.
yeah,
That's so good when he was sick as a
exactly.
dog.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
one
and
chorus and one verse, that's all I ask. I don't know how I still remember this shit, but I do.
You've
Well,
seen
You
because
it.
ask you to do a
seen it
drum roll
400
if your arm
times.
fell off.
Okay, let me ask you guys this.
Okay,
Yeah.
Would this have been the best Metallica album if they literally just took the top 11 songs?
definitely a contender. I mean, I don't.
Because they initially wanted to release it as a double album. That was the entire
Oh.
intent of it, was load and reload.
I knew Jeff would get a kick out of that.
Jeff
We
is-
watched the shit out of that back in the day.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
Oh yeah.
It could be probably the number 2 album, I would say, maybe. Like, I
Could be.
mean, but what list do they use?
Right? You have to,
Yeah.
well, like in those quotes that I read earlier of James saying basically we wrote too many songs. If they would have capped it, you say you cap it at, okay, we're stopping at 15, and then we're gonna pick the best 12, and then we'll leave.
You would have also had more time to explore the song and fix things in the song that were just left in because of time.
Yes.
You know, like if there's certain passages that you're not happy with as an artist, you don't have, because you're trying to write 2 albums at once, you don't have the time as you would to really, and they decided at some point, they're like, okay, no, we have to just release an album or we're going to be in the studio for like another year.
Yeah.
Or whatever the time
They
frame
had
was.
to-
So
had to
they
stop,
changed their plans, right? They're like, let's just release Load and then we can release Reload later on.
Because
So,
originally it was going to be a double album of all those songs just put
Yeah.
out at once, and they just couldn't get it done. But yeah, self-editing has been a big problem with Metallica over the years.
but they never used to self-edit, right? Like the first couple of albums, it's whatever they wrote, they put it on the album.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't write like a traditional band does, because they just put riffs. Lars puts riffs together. Like he just piecemeals, like Master of Puppets is amalgamation. Jigsaws them together, like Kirk's riff, James' riff, Cliff's riff, all this stuff just kind of gets, okay, this is the order. And he's like a master at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they can write a song like, hey, James, let's go. Can write a song. What?
Yeah, people can say what they want about Lars as a human being and being a shitty drummer, arguably.
He's a fucking awesome drummer, man.
Well, he's a sloppy, awesome drummer.
Well,
he's not the cleanest drummer, but I will say this: he is a master song creator. Like,
yes,
like what you said, the way he can craft the songs and put them in and goes, I need you to play this 4 times, not 3 times, and this needs to go here. Like he sees the song in his head. So
absolutely, Jeff, I totally agree. Yeah. I had a thought and I just lost it. Oh,
yeah.
I feel like Bob Rock really pushed James to actually sing healthy and use his kind of Waylon Jennings soul feel.
Yeah, I can't. Bob opened him up to a whole new world.
Yeah, absolutely did. It absolutely showed.
What I will say about Lars, and I'm going to compare him to Ringo Starr, and people give Ringo shit for being a bad drummer too, which I wholeheartedly 1,000,000% disagree.
I disagree as well.
Ringo is underrated, in my opinion, one of the greatest of all times. He was basically, he did what the song needed. He didn't need to put in flash and pizzazz like John Bonham or Dave Lombardo, guys like that just need to have themselves heard. And Lars is the same way. Lars does what the song needs, because Lars knows he's not good like those guys.
Yeah, but every song in Lars's mind needs snare. So,
well, yeah, whether the snare is turned on or off. But Lars has been quoted saying, like, I am the greatest drummer for James Hetfield's guitar. And those and those two things together is all you need, because they write the songs together. They just that's how it is. And I just I think I think Lars gets a bum rap because sure, is Lux Eterna is his drum's good. Well, whatever, it fits.
Yeah.
Don't give a shit if he's technically amazing. It fits
No,
what the song needs.
I will say I was pretty impressed with the drumming on Hardwired. Like
Yeah.
there's some pretty good drumming passages on that album. So
Dude's fucking 59 years old too now. Like if you
Yeah.
if you watch, did you guys watch the? I know we're running low on time. Did you guys watch the All Within My Hands Foundation show?
I did. Yes.
I did.
Yeah.
Lars looked like he was having some trouble keeping up.
It was
Well,
rough
I
at the
mean,
beginning.
It was a little
Like
rough
the
at the
first
beginning.
3-4 songs were a little rough, and it was like,
Yes.
oh.
drumming, especially in his style, is really tough. And the guy's in his 60s.
Like Creeping Death
Like-
for him looked really rough when the camera panned to him. He
Yeah.
looked like he was going to explode, and
Yeah.
I just worry how much time they've got left.
The problem with Lars as a drummer is like usually your drummer isn't a focal point of the direction of the band. He's not like the icon of the band, right? So because Lars is the icon of the band, his time is taken away to do a lot of infrastructure work with Metallica and song arranges and
He's the
business
business,
deals.
right?
He's
Right?
the
business.
business. He's the
So-
business half, 100%.
Yeah, and so most drummers, all they do is just they go to their room and they practice and they play and they just focus on the drumming. But he can't just focus on the drumming. He's got so much on his plate, so it takes away from his
Even from
ability
day
to
one,
maintain, right? So yeah,
absolutely.
Lars is the Gene Simmons of Metallica.
absolutely.
He's the guy
Yeah.
driving the business. He's the one, and I mean, not
Is that a
taking
good thing or
away-
a bad thing?
Oh, it's a good
That's
thing.
a good thing.
I
It's
know
a
it's a
good
good
thing
thing.
because I
Gene's
mean,
is the boss.
they're in this day and age of music. They're still making money hand over fist.
And they still got and they need to stay relevant because
they are.
most
And I think they're doing a good job of it.
I think they're doing okay with that.
Here's a question for you then:
Sure.
Is Metallica a heavy metal band
Yes.
at this point?
No.
Or
They've
are they
invented their own genre of music.
or are they a rock band?
I think they're Metallica. I think that's
Jeez, Jay Weinberg and stuff like that.
So Jeff
talent-wise,
chiming in.
absolutely. Fucking
Yeah.
Jay's
In
amazing.
my humble opinion, the best drummer in the world as we speak is Jay Weinberg and Slipknot. Just throwing it out there. I've become a huge fan in the last few years.
I
One of
will
my favorite songs of last year was Adderall by Slipknot. I fucking love that song.
Yeah,
I'm
I will
not-
say this about Slipknot drumming
so-
though. There's a specific tone to his drumming which is just really aesthetically pleasing to the ear. Like I really like the drum sound from Slipknot. Really, really do.
I'm a big fan of Corey Taylor, his solo stuff, his Stone Sour stuff. I haven't really given Slipknot a shot. The aesthetics of the band just made me roll my eyes early, and I've never come back to it. I have been meaning to get around to it. Maybe we pick that up at some point. However,
listen to the first song.
Seb's going to end up having podcasting as a career if he doesn't get his ass to work.
One last thing, Matt. Listen to the first song off Slipknot's new record. It will. It'll open your eyes to what they are.
Okay, and
here's a bit of
the
a
first cruise and is a really good dude off stage.
Cool.
Really
Here's
good.
a bit of a tidbit that you may or may not know. What famous actress is a really big Slipknot fan?
Oh, I saw this. I can't remember.
Margot Robbie.
Nice.
Yeah.
They asked her about heavy metal music and she's like, oh yeah, I just went to the Slipknot show. It was one of the best shows I've ever been to.
Sweet.
And she was like, it's amazing how many people recognize me there that don't recognize me at other concerts. So I have people asking me about, like, this was before she even became famous, like when she was on a show called Neighbors, I guess. People were coming up to her asking her about stuff on the show. So just a bit of a tidbit, and this is why we love Margot Robbie, because she's a massive heavy metal fan.
Can I give you guys two little sort of trivia
Quick
type questions?
Let's do this.
Okay. Do you guys know what the original song title of Until It Sleeps was?
No.
Do not.
It was FOBD. Do you know what that stands for?
Something with fuck you.
No. No, actually.
Okay, hold on.
FOBD.
FOBD.
Yes. It's an acronym. It's obviously it's
FOBD. FOBD.
For our best days.
That's a
close.
good one.
It's close.
Okay, what is it?
Fell on Black Days, like the sound.
Oh, Jesus.
It's their Fell on Black Days, yeah.
Was that
Fair
a
enough.
homage to? I guess because they were heavily influenced by Alice in Chains during that. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
That was mine for all both.
Sarah, for all bald dudes, thank you, Sarah. Picking on Mike today.
Oh,
That's
man,
a lot.
so mean.
Which is fine because she's gonna pick on me for the rest of the weekend.
That's right.
That's also allowed.
Yeah, I'll just list you off a couple of
Okay.
Sure.
Song titles. You guys probably don't know them because it's like kind of deep stuff. Mama Said the original song title was "The Story So Far."
Ooh.
Interesting.
It's interesting, right? A
Yeah.
little sort of autobiographical. Hero of the Day was Moldy. That was the original working title.
I feel like I knew that at some point.
You did. You probably did. I probably
think
beat
that
it in your
sounds
head at some
familiar,
point 1,000 years ago. King Nothing's original name was Load. That was the original working title. Interesting.
Okay.
Wasting My Hate was Streamline, which I think is kind of dumb.
Yeah, no, I think they upgraded that one.
Yeah.
And I said Mine Eyes earlier was Low Man's Lyric. And the last one I could find, Carpe Diem Baby's original title was Skimpy.
Both titles are bad, but
they would have had to do another song called Ren. So
right? Exactly. No, not Stimpy. Skimpy.
Skimpy.
Ren and Skimpy.
All right, well that's it. We've
good job, boys.
We've run overtime, but this was fun. I kind of went off on a
25-minute wrestling
rant.
story.
That's fine. We needed it. You needed it for your own sanity, buddy.
So I guess we're gonna try and hit one more of these before I take off on vacation.
Yes.
So for anybody out there listening, Jeff, looking at you specifically, write your own list of 11.
Yes, I want to see it.
Post it on the show page or
send it to one of us and we can read it on our next show.
Yes.
Go to Spotify, create the list for us.
Yeah.
Or Apple if that's what you use now.
Yes, whatever. And you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, and Apple Podcasts as well. For Sebastian and Mike, this is Matt. We have been at the end of the Low Man's Lyrics. Good day. How do? And
you stole it from me, you bastard. Good day, everybody.
Good day. See you guys.